worried about your loved one? Can you spot dementia in its earliest stages? Here we'll talk about 5 clues that are often ignored so that you can recognize them and do something before it's too late. At the end, I'll tell you the next step to take if you see those signs and a strategy to help your loved one want to do it. Clue number 1, memory loss. Memory loss happens to us all. Where did I put my keys? I can't find my phone again. This is a common thing at our house. In a different video, I talk about my loved one and how he uses beepers to find his stuff. But with dementia, memory loss becomes more frequent. It happens on a recurrent basis, and it interferes with a person's ability to live their life in the way that they normally have. This might be in the form of forgetting appointments, forgetting that they were going to go get their nails done, forgetting the doctor's appointment, forgetting that they were supposed to go golfing with friends on Tuesday afternoon. You might see difficulty with names of familiar people. My mother has 8 children. She's always mixed up our names. But when she starts mixing up them more and more, can't remember people she sees frequently, like her neighbors or my sisters who help her regularly, that will be a problem. With dementia, people can start forgetting what's happening each day. So there's more and more questions. When are we going? Or why are we going? Or why are we seeing this doctor? And once they're answered, the question happens again. You'll also see problems with people forgetting what's already been said or what's been discussed. They start repeating stories. And yes, if you tell a lot of people the same story, you might tell one person twice. But when it happens regularly, every time you see the person, they're saying the same story. Or the person keeps on talking about something that you just talked about yesterday and you just talked about the day before, there is cause for concern. Clue number 2, difficulty with everyday tasks. Some people love to cook. They've cooked for years and years. They are good at what they do. They might not be chef quality, but they're good at their recipes. When this changes, that can signal a problem. It can be a problem if people are forgetting ingredients, or forgetting well-known recipes, or just not able to pull off the dishes that they used to be able to execute. We can see this in sorting mail. Mail comes in, we all get mail. Some of it is obvious junk. Some of it is, I have to look at this for a second before I go, oh, this isn't anything that is relevant to me. And some things are bills. Some things are solicitations that we need to address. When it becomes difficult for your loved one to look through mail and identify what's important and what's not, that's a problem. When papers begin to stack, papers that they used to be able to file and sort and put away, but suddenly there's a buildup more and more, that can indicate a problem. This can extend to paying bills. When somebody's forgetting to pay bills or is paying us the same bill repeatedly, a red alert should go off. And it can also extend to driving to familiar places. All of a sudden, Dad's been going to the same barber for 20 years, and he's kind of confused about where he's going or how to get there. The barber hasn't moved. I see this a lot when older parents or grandparents are visiting their children. They've been going to the same place, the same location repeatedly throughout the years, and suddenly they take a wrong turn and they get there late. There's problems that are quite unusual. These difficulties in doing everyday tasks can raise concern. Clue number 3, changes in communication. Yes, by the time that you get to your 30s, there is this tip of the tongue phenomenon. You're talking along and all of a sudden you're like, what is that word? I totally can't think about it. That's normal for all of us. When it becomes a problem with dementia, you'll see people having more difficulty. Suddenly, as they're talking around things a lot and saying, you know that thing, we went over there and we did that, and they're being much more general or vague or non-specific about it. They might inadvertently use the wrong word for something. So instead of saying, oh, hand me that fork, they say, hand me that paintbrush. Whoa, that's not any right word that we were talking about. And go, oh, God, what I was thinking. Once in a while, maybe, but as this happens more, this is an alert. You might also notice, rather than them producing the wrong word, is that they're a lot more of pausing and hesitation and trying to come up with words as they're thinking through something. All of these things can be an indicator that their language is not working as fluently as it used to. This might also be seen in your loved one having a harder time keeping up with more complicated conversations. Now, of course, we need to rule out problems with hearing that can make it difficult for anybody to engage in conversations. But assuming that that's been understood and there is no hearing problem, more difficulty with conversations, back and forths, maintaining a conversation or having a conversation with several people could be a sign of a problem. Clue number 4, confusion about time and place. We've all heard the joke, I'm retired, I don't need to know the date anymore. And it's true, for a lot of people the date isn't especially relevant. But once you've been told the date once and you don't remember it, and you get told it again and you're still not tracking the date, this can indicate the sign of a problem. When people can't remember the correct month or the correct year, this can also indicate a sign of a problem. Confusion about place is another unusual occurrence. This isn't about traveling and getting confused and lost on the side streets. This is about not knowing where you're at in familiar locations. And clue number 5, shifts in personality or mood. Personality changes can appear where a person becomes paranoid or aggressive or angry or irritable when this was never the case before. People can get very confused about their interactions with others. I had a patient who called her loved ones saying that somebody obviously stole her underwear and other garments because she couldn't find them. Come to find out, they were in the dirty laundry. Another patient had a cordial, if not especially friendly, relationship with his neighbors over the years. But suddenly he started accusing them of stealing his apples, throwing garbage over the fence, moving the property line. He went as far as to install security cameras, and he was obsessively watching the footage. There was no evidence of a problem, and yet he couldn't let it go. He continued to believe there was an issue. On the flip side, people can become more withdrawn and less engaged in activities that they've always loved. Once avid readers quit reading, and not because of vision problems or just because they're so busy with everything else. People who love to garden can quit tending to things, and now everything's overgrown and there are no vegetables this summer. Former party planners who always had something going on no longer want to invite people over for dinner. Now we have to pay attention because yes, these things can be a sign of dementia, but they can also be signs of other common things like depression, problems with sleep, medication side effects, infections, or other medical problems. So say that you're seeing these things. You don't have to see all 5 of these problems, but say that you say 1 or 2 or 3 of them, and you're more and more concerned about your loved one. What do? You seek medical help. We really need to know what's actually happening for your loved one. We need to know that there aren't basic metabolic problems like thyroid or B12 or other imbalances. We need to make sure that they're not depressed, they're anxious, or having another emotional or psychological problem. We need to make sure that their medications are appropriate and these aren't just side effects. So your loved one needs to start with their primary care provider. When you approach your loved one with the idea, see how they react. Some people have been worried about changes that they're noticing, and they want to get a resolution. They want to find out what's going on. If so, that's great. Other people are not concerned. They do not see a problem. They react really defensively and tell you that you're crazy and they're doing just fine. If that happens, back up a step. So start tracking 2 different things. First, for your own benefit, start tracking the problems that you're seeing. Track specific examples and when they happen. This is going to be very useful for future reference in talking to providers, but also building an understanding of what's happening for your loved one. Secondly, start tracking what your loved one is complaining about. It might be that they complain about losing their keys or not being able to come up with words, some of these problems that you're noticing. They might not be complaining about those problems at all. They might complain about their sleep disruption and how they just can't sleep as well as they used to. They might complain about a certain ache or pain that they have. Whatever it is, pay attention and start documenting the issue. Don't tell them that these things aren't real or that you just have to deal with it with old age, but pay attention to their concerns. The next time you have the conversation, start with and highlight their concerns. Empathize with them. Understand that yes, they have problems that are really distressing to them, and yes, we should get those checked out. At the same time, it might also be helpful to talk briefly with the provider about your concerns and the things that you've been seeing. By highlighting and emphasizing their concerns and things that are actually bothering them, you're increasing the chance that they will buy in and actually want to go. Now you know some warning signs of dementia and how to facilitate a trip to the doctor with your loved one. But you don't necessarily know what to talk about or what to bring up and ask about when you go to see the provider. If that would be useful to you, then you may want to watch my other video on how to talk to a primary care provider about these types of concerns. So I'll see you there, and thanks so much for coming today. Bye.